LB's group of power takers. The first is that the A2 and Ravia are almost completely normal. The first is the greatest day of the world, but still not a single room. The most brutal is that opponents seem to have not exerted power. SGA is limited to under 20 minutes. The last 18 minutes are enough. Game 2, he is a good player, but he is also a good player. The first time was in the third quarter with 5 points ahead. But the public fail. It looks like the Houthis are in 25-26th grade. The first is to get to the right place. But objectively, this is how it is written. I'm happy enough to be here. After all, the team's first goal in the tournament. The book is not very common. The game is almost a high-end game. The Houthis return to demonstrate their ability. Among them, some people will be in future plans. Some of them, it's hard to keep going down with the kids. What is it? How to judge the performance of the Houthi players in almost every game. The team's performance in the final season will be affected by the changes in the team's strength and conditioning. Today, let's see how to handle the Houthi season. Preliminary pre-war case. Almost a year in jail now. I'm not sure what happened. I believe that everyone has a clear understanding of the situation. The first is the power of the Houthis. The team is very different from the real rivalry. If the four-wheeler is a Mars or a Wolf, maybe they can see it again. The first is the Mars. They even have the opportunity. The first is to use the experience of LBJ to give the opponent the first chance. The United Nations has also announced that the country will continue to support the fight against terrorism. The New Year's winner, Retin, has a championship experience. They really have no power to recover. As AIDS says, LBJ has already taken the power of Gamer. But it seems that the Retin is not harmless. The second is, who is the person who is useful to who? Who are not available? Who is the one who holds the blue letter in the high-end office? It's also clear. I'm not sure what the problem is. The spider was removed by the lightning bolt. After all, this year is not the year of the hoodoo hostage-taking. The game is about the real power of players. The first is the Call of Duty and the second is the Call of Duty. What is more important? The report also highlights the potential for a modification of the Houthi Charger. We're going to start with two main characters, LBJ and AIDS. The two men were even able to talk about how to arrange for the two. The two events are not isolated, but interacting. The historic race. LBJ's right to vote is clear. The report also highlights the importance of the data and the performance of manufacturers. He played as a three-way player for the team. He is actually playing the role of the ball bearer less and less. The second time the two translators spent more time on the Blue Eyes assistant. The first is the greatest show on earth. After entering the high-end office, LBJ is starting to release its energy. The wheel is on the loop. A2 train line is on high alert. LBJ is a team that is up to the task. Directly in the field of ball controls. The game is a rocket without KD. The game is a great game. Two of the teams were tied by opponents. The first is the curse of the world. LBJ4 has no lose camera. The real force is to offer it to the foreigners. The first is the someone to cut 28 plus 7 plus 8. The game was played with only half a game. After 3 episodes, kill 4 matches. If you want to select the first roster of the selectors, LBJ must be furious. The game is also available in the US. The first is the Rocket. The world's largest football stadium is located in the city of Leningrad. The first is the straightforward approach. He was taken to the hospital with the other person facing the stronger one. The first is the LBJ. He has a 7% effective shot rate of 4 and a 7% effective shot rate of 4 and a 7% effective shot of 4.5 times the effective shot of 7.5 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 times the actual 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 shot of 7.5 times the shot of 7 times the actual shot of 7 times the actual shot of 7 times. The game was played in a single match. Just look at the data. The SDA is even covered in the front. The LBJ has lost the fight, but the LBJ has not lost the fight. The first time I saw a video of a young man who was in a coma, I was in a coma. I think it's the most realistic idea of many fans. I want to ask you a question. Although LBJ is now 41 years old, he is now 0 years old. He is still a reliable player in the future. He is the first core of the absolute. It's hard to believe that this is happening. But as a little king in the two-door, LBJ is definitely qualified. The first is that the government is not going to be able to do anything. What he can do, the team is better than the big party. The problem is that we have a lot of money. For him, what should be done about the interpersonal repair period? LBJ did not make an appointment in advance last summer. After the end of this year, the contract expired. How to become a free player. Many fans originally thought that the video was a good one. The contract and the house. The LBJ is not really the party for the proactive. The ancient people may consider him as a heart-shaped soldier. He even signed his heart. If the LBJ leaves the old man, free water market, we can also find out the team that he and his non-speakers, the heroes. He is also a former president of the United Nations. The contract is worth about $30 million. The government has already given less than $50 million. Theoretically, there is room for. The team is not a reliable leader. The Blue Net Kings and others. The LBJ is not part of the plan. It's hard to imagine. He'd go to a place like this to play in the sand. So, what is the meaning of this? LBJ wants to be happy at the same time. The right to play and the opportunity to compete. It's not easy. But after the fight, he was still alive. The situation is different. The old people never needed LBJ. The LBJ is in great need. In this case, the power of initiative is not in the hands of the ancients. The first is the LBJ. LBJ, if you'd like to focus, that's why you're so good. Welcome to the forum. If the LBJ doesn't want to focus on the issue, the ancient people feared. The first time I saw the video was in the middle of the night. The first is that the people of the past were so passive. The problem is that the L2 is not working well. So we're going to talk about L2 next. The first race. L2 gave out 23.3 plus 4.7 plus 5.5 in the field. Life expectancy compared to last year. The number of people who have been killed in the past 3 years has risen by more than 3%. The victim was injured. He has been absent from more than 30 events. But we can't deny that. This is his best season since his debut. The ancient people had expected that the world would be destroyed. If he can call the test a climate race, the LBJ is not hurt and the LBJ is not hurt. The LBJ era was later changed to L2 and L2. See also, disputes. But the truth is, L1 missed the first 4 games of the series with a rocket injury. After Game 5, his performance is hard to describe as satisfactory. Game 2 for reading today. He has been playing his best game ever. The game is a game of rockets. He played 16.4 against reading Game 1. He was 16.3 overall. This is especially true of the 16.3. The survival rate is only 18.8%. The first time I saw the video was in the last 35 years. The rocket players will be at least 15 times in the future. The lowest death rate in the world. The previous record was the 2000 Game 5 final. The number of people who are in the country is 20.4%. The survival rate is 20%. He is not even a problem with his own interference. The first is that the government is not going to take any action. Even comfortable balls are difficult to carry. He also took away Kennar's rights after his return. The first time the team had played in the first round of the tournament was in May. L2's handling of the rebound today. I feel a bit blinded by the stupidity of the situation. What is the meaning of this article? L2 jumped out of its original 14.9 million contracts this summer. The game is a big deal and a long one. This is a legal requirement. He was eligible to earn a $540 million contract. I'm not sure. Tiger is the most important animal in the world. L2 by LBJ analysis. 23 our roles are in exchange. The Tigers were not expecting this. I'm not sure. I'm also guessing that this is the case. The Tigers will try their best to stay on the LBJ side. The LBJ's claim is quite simple. The first is decent retirement research. The second is the opportunity to compete. So we can't rule out the possibility of LBJ itself launching a satellite. If the Tigers really stayed in LBJ, the next 3 seasons should still give LBJ a chance to stay strong. I'm going to be back in a few days. The second is the L2. The situation is relatively complicated. L2 should have been biting the police by hand. The Tigers are the only ones who can save the world from the destruction of the Tigers. The price of the product is quite reasonable, so they should still be targeted. The amount of the renewal is long overdue. The first is that of that, if there is an opportunity to upgrade L2 to a more reliable star. The first is the Letterkoff fee. The Tigers will not hesitate. What happened next? We are looking at the Tigers' most disadvantaged players again. Smart's own impression of the name. The defensive end is the core of the team's outfield defense. The attack ended. He scored the first goal of the postseason. The number of people who have been killed in the battle is already higher than the number of people who have been killed in the battle. He signed a contract worth 5.4 million euros next season. The game is free to play. This price is still too cheap. The first is to get rid of the contract. The possibility of a previous one. Of course he deserves it. A tone is seen by many people. It's probably just a little bit of a trick. The army is close to 10-11 outputs. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's bad. We are all aware of this. If it wasn't for a tone, the Tiger can only get haste to the top of the 5th position. The difference is obviously too big. This is not a coalition without the choice of the Atone. The guess question is, the Tiger is the only one who can win the World Championship. So, what is the meaning of this? If this is not possible in Atone, the first is the greatest day of the year. It's better to leave it alone. Kanar is actually the same. The first 3 Rocket games, after the explosion, he scored 4 consecutive goals without a double. But on the one hand, he was not a heavyweight. The ball is in the box. The other side, as mentioned earlier, the return of AR. The first time I saw him, I was in a coma. The whole thing, Kanar is a projection precision. The ball and the sideprint must be in the aftermath. The players who didn't play were never the same. He was born in the summer of this year. The game is free to play. Tiger is needed to negotiate with him. What is the renewal? If the salary is around 10 million a year, this is totally acceptable. What is it? The villagers almost forgot about 8 villages. He is the last man to win the race. The score was 16.1. The number of people who are dying is already high. The project is based on size projection. The game is played in a single-player mode. He is in the final. The first is that the country is not a country. The video was shot in the middle of the night. The money was originally prepared for AR. The government has already given a lot of money to the villagers. The first is that the government is not going to be able to do anything. I'm going to tell you about Bronley. The team lost their teammates. Riddick doesn't have enough trust based on Bronley. I think it's a good idea to start with a few questions. The first is that the AR is not working. The prince is given more time to talk about his future. At least he can still defend himself. I'm going to go upstairs and think about it. He is also a former member of the National Guard. The first is to give LBJ energy. This is not a good thing for Burla. What is it? If the team really is with LBJ, the term renewal. The first is that the city is not a city. It's not even possible. I'm not sure. This is the kind of people that Tigers should try to stay. He should have abandoned the people he was born with. It is also very clear. Levy stands at the exit of the 8.2 army at the playground. The death rate of 45.9 is not bad either. But he did make the playoffs. He really doesn't like high intensity. The usual hesitation against the reading. The waste is posted. This is proof. There is a puzzle, but the absolute capacity is still insufficient. The game is free to play as a warrior in some places. The game is over. In fact, it's not as bad as Jalen's and Leething. The last one is also a puzzle. And a hand with a hard hand. The first is the color of the color. If you are healthy, window. The newly created system is designed to be a strategic weapon for defense. He and his wife have been together for years. The trend is already negative. The project never got into practice. He has more than 25 million contracts over the next 2 years. The whole thing is, he left it to the Houthis. The first is that the country is not a country. Given that he was seriously injured in gaming, I don't want to accuse him of anything. But economic sports. This is not a cruel, over-the-top buy-in. The first is the battle of the sexes. I hope DK leaves the team early. The team and players are not good at staying with each other. The whole state of mind of the idiot. The first is that the health of the children is not a problem. If you can keep LBG on a contract that is more expensive than sex, if we can make a breakthrough in this area of A2. For example, the pressing rack. The following is a list of. The first time I saw a big card was in the past. If you can get Windows. Laravia is a writer. DK and others have been given a better puzzle. The first is the street. The outside guard. Or organize the wind in the village. So the next race is for the Hoosiers. The first is the greatest day of the world. The series is not yet fully over. But look doesn't have to rush to pay. Love is a pain. The next race is marked. The first is to allow the Houthis to continue training in the future. This is the most important thing.